This is our last exercise for Module 3. We're making good progress here. This will be a fun one. We get to create our first site team and modify the permissions for that. So we're going to create a site team for the Livingstone Hotels and Resorts site. And we'll go ahead and modify permissions on a resource on that site and then test it out. First, we're going to go ahead to the default site, create that site team in the Members tab of the Site Administration panel. The name of the site team is going to be Web Moderators. We'll add a user to that new site team. Likely it's going to be James Murray. He's the one we usually use. So we'll create a new community page on that site. This is all for testing of this new site team. We'll add a message boards widget to the new page and then grant that site team called Web Moderators permissions to the widget, and we'll test it out with James Murray to finish this off. The bonus exercises for this exercise would be to create more users, add them to this Web Moderators team. You can add more widgets to the page and then grant permissions for those widgets to the team. Log in as another user besides James or whatever user you use for this exercise and test the site team permissions. So basically, this bonus exercise is more of the same. Use different widgets, use different permissions with those widgets. It really just helps to get a handle of what permissions are available for the existing Liferay out-of-the-box widgets. It can be very useful. So without further ado, let's get started here. We're going to head over to our browser. I'm in my browser here. I'm in the default site, Livingstone Hotels and Resorts. Now it said the Members tab. What it's referring to is we need to go to this People tab to create our site teams. And under here we can see clearly here's the Teams subtab. So we're going to click on that. And like usual, we're used to seeing this search bar here that has the filtering, the search, the display style, and the add button, which changes contextually depending on other things you've selected on this page. So we're going to add a team. Okay, and this team was supposed to be called Web Moderators. So we'll type in that name, press save. Simple as that. We'll go ahead and click on Web Moderators. And it says we have an add button here, which it makes sense contextually. What we want to do is add a user to this group. So I'll select James Murray. He's now been added to the site team. Looks like you can also add user groups to a site team, so that's nice to know. So now that James Murray is in here, right now the Web Moderators site team can do nothing. So we need to change that. So what we'll go ahead and do next is we need to give them access to the message boards widget per the exercise instructions. So before we can go ahead and add new permissions to this group, we're going to create the community site that we need. We'll go to Site Builder, Pages. We'll go ahead and make it a public page. Widget page is fine. We're going to call this the community page because it's going to have message boards on it. I'm going to navigate to that page by clicking Option Menu, View. I'm at the community page. From here, we're going to add the message boards widget. Well, what section do you think that would be under? Well, it's going to be under collaboration. So I can drag it or just click Add. There we go. Message board has been added. And now, specifically for this widget, I want to define permissions for it. It is a widget permission. What we're dealing with here is we're specifically dealing with the resource, which is the message board widget. Okay, so that's why we have a totally different set of permissions at the top here, and we can use the arrow keys to scroll right and left just to see all of them. Okay, so it looks like there's quite a few, and so now we can see our new site team on the left here under role. We'll add permissions for everything except for this permissions because we don't want web moderators to be able to modify permissions for other users. They're just going to be interacting with the widget itself. banning users, adding files, replying to messages, all of this good stuff. So select all these boxes. I believe that's all of them. I'm going to press save. So specifically, the web moderator's site team has access to all the functionality of this specific message boards widget. Not every message boards widget, but this specific one on this page. So now it's time to test this out. If we go back here, let's see if we've completed our objectives so far. We have gone to the default site, created that site team. We added James Murray. We also added the new community page. We added a widget to that page. We granted the web moderator teams permission for this widget. All we have to do now is test that out. So let's test this out two ways. Let's see, we have 2 users in our portal so far that we've created. I want to try using Hannah Jones first, just to make sure that she doesn't have permissions. It's always good to check that first. Head over to our newly created community site. So to demonstrate the outcome of creating this site team and assigning James Murray to it, it's pretty clear here that I'm logged into Liferay DXP as Hannah Jones. I did not add her to the site team. And you can see that there are 2 threads created in this message board widget. And Hannah Jones created this one and James Murray created this one. I'm logged in as Hannah Jones and I am able to create new threads. I can edit my own thread. I can manage permissions on my own thread. But I can't do anything but subscribe to James Murray's thread. Conversely, because we updated James Murray to be added to that site team, we'll quickly see here that James Murray has some added functionality. He has this add category button displayed here. We didn't see that with Hannah. In addition, he can actually lock Hannah's thread, which we didn't see that option when we were logged in as Hannah. He has additional things that he can do as a web moderator that Hannah Jones can't. And that's just a couple of the permissions that we added. Add category, lock, etc. So that's a pretty cool example there. That's all we want to do is just show how that works a little bit. Again, feel free to play around with the permissions, see what they turn on, see what they turn off, and go ahead and take a stab at that. Bonus exercise, that actually wraps it up. That's our last exercise for this module. Hope to see you in Module 4.